All right, perfect. So, hi, thanks for coming. I am April. I'm the Director of Nursing at Impruvon, and I'm going to walk you through the platform today. What we're going to look at mostly is your point of view when you're providing direct care. And we're going to walk through everything from medication administration, walking through the med admin steps, using this box behind me. We have our med admin box. Can you see this behind me? Okay, is it in my screen? Yes. When we talk about our medication box, this is going to be the smart storage of the medication. It is where medications are stored and organized based off of time of day when they're administered, and the software talks to the med box, so it opens up at the correct time of administration. And we're going to walk through that together, going through that process. We'll also look at any tasks that are set up in the system, how you can complete your controlled substance counting, and any other documentation that you need to do. I am going to share my screen with you. Give me 1 second. Alrighty. You can see my screen over here. Looking good. Alrighty. This is what we call it the mobile portion, where you're going to get to take action on all of those items that you have to do for your individual. So depending on where you're working that day, you should see the caseload of individuals at the site that you need. You can always do the searching fields within the platform, searching by site. You can always search by the name of the individual. And let's say we are working today at April Lane. We have two individuals that live there, Rachel and Phoebe. If I am working with just Rachel today, you can always use this little pin up here to pin them at the top of your list, just for quicker access. These are profile cards. They're going to tell you a little bit of information about your individual. The first thing I can see is I have 7 medications that are due. Meds that have been late for 6 minutes. I am outside the time frame of administering those medications and they're deemed late. As you know, we typically have an hour before, an hour after to administer those medications based off the certification that we have. Or let's say we have a new order. The doctor says I can take all of my psych meds within a 4-hour time frame. That determinant in the software is already built in. So it knows you might have 2 hours for a med or in other circumstances, a little larger of a time frame window. That's where these time clocks are going to come into place. They're there to try to help guide us to do those things that we need to do in the list and also kind of keep us on track with all of the things we got to do in a day. 4 tasks are associated with Rachel, so she has 4 different items that we could complete. Tasks can be anything. They could be things like a weekly weight. Maybe I really want to track compliance with CPAP application at bedtime for Rachel. I want to see how many times she's agreeing to wear this. I want to remind the staff that we have to place it on at bedtime. We can set these up in a couple different ways, and we'll look at that together. I have an impact check, which is a PRN follow-up. One really nice thing is when you administer a PRN medicine, we're going to ask what the reason is, which should match exactly what's on that label, why the medicine is prescribed. And then we'll send an automatic follow-up back to your to-do list to say if it was effective or ineffective for whatever reason it was given. So we have one of those to complete together. And we're also going to walk through controlled substance counts. Within Impruvon, we can prompt these in a lot of different ways. For your organization, we're going to complete these during the med pass. So after you administer a controlled substance, it's simply going to ask how many medications remain for this medicine. Maybe I have 10 medicines left in my bubble pack. Maybe MedCycle just came. I picked it up from Brian. And I have 3 medicines in my current pack, 28 medicines in my refill pack. We're asking how many of the total medications are in the kind of pack for this medication. So you're able to answer that and enter it right at the med pass. This is your command center. It's where you're really going to get to take action on all of the items that you would need for Rachel. The first thing that we're going to look at, you're always going to see your name up at the top. Your initials that the system will give you. I'm April admin, so I'm AA. Typically, it's the first initial, last initial of your last name. In the cases where maybe we have an Amy Adams on board, we can give other unique identifiers. No one will have the same login. It's unique to you. We will look at my profile picture here of Rachel. We can upload those from the platform. That way it's showing right here. And if I want to kind of gain and learn a little more information about Rachel, I can select that button. I can see her overarching profile note. You're going to be able to view this in every step of the MedAdmin process. It's a really nice place where you may find information related to prescribed diets. If you have to crush or alter medicines, liquids, if there's certain swallowing precautions for your individuals, it's just a reminder. And that's the goal of Impruvon. We don't want to be just a record-keeping process. We want to make your lives easier and give you the right information you need at the right time. Maybe you float to a lot of different houses and you might, want a quick refresher on your individual. What are their allergies? Those are listed here. What are their diagnoses? Active list of medicines will show here, and you can select these from the drop down to learn about more information. I can see that Rachel has a sulfa drug allergy. She gets hives. She has a food allergy to shellfish, which is an anaphylactic reaction. In the platform, there's ways to set up actions, which are really just going to guide you and alert you. Is there something we need to keep in mind when we're dealing with this allergy? Does Rachel have a PRN medicine that should be prescribed and administered if signs and symptoms of the reaction occur? Those types of linking and information, again, that's the goal. We want to help guide the care that you're providing every single day. Mobility status, if that is designated in the ISP, typically documented exactly as that stands. Is there supervision level that's needed, adaptive equipment, and do we ambulate with or without any assistance? Those types of details could be there if applicable. One of my favorite things is scheduled notes. You're going to be able to see this from a list here, but you're also going to get this as a reminder when you give a routine medicine. It could be those typical things like, hey, remember to use a wheeled walker when Rachel is ambulating. Maybe it's just an FYI, and I want to say, hey, Doug, tonight expect a delivery of Rachel's medications. Or guess what? Next week, we have to be on a clear liquid diet because Rachel is getting a colonoscopy at the end of the week. Things that we just want to keep in mind, a nice way to communicate within the app and inform the whole team. That's what schedule notes are there for. We are first going to focus on our do now section. Think of it as your running to-do list. Anytime a medicine or a task, or like I said, those follow-up checks for PRN meds are due, they're going to fall into this do now section. And again, it is there for your convenience to collect all these things. We're basically dissecting the MAR or the TAR, the treatment administration record with tasks, and putting them on that active to-do list so we don't have to spend time looking at that. We can always see items that are due later. If I select this little button, I can see what's coming up for Rachel later on. Good way to kind of keep in mind of what I need to do maybe later on in the shift. Coming in at 8 a.m., I want to see what's on my schedule for the afternoon and into the early evening. When I select the Do Now section, again, I can see I have a lot of different things to do, and I better get started because the first one that is scheduled will start in 46 minutes. I can see I have start buttons here to complete all of these tasks. As I complete them, they're going to fall off of the to-do list. This is an example. It was due at 12 o'clock, but you see it's not late yet. It's late in 46 minutes. Tasks can be set up with a time frame window just like medications. Maybe I had a full 8 hours to complete this task. Maybe I only had an hour. Those items will be set here for you again, falling in the to-do list when they're due. You're going to see the title of the task and what the description is. And when you simply hit start, you're going to be able to document some details. Some tasks require data to be documented. This one is requiring us to document the elevation of the bed. And you can have these notes here that will guide what kind of documentation we need to occur. I simply need to note what elevation of the bed I completed. So I will do that. 45 degrees, tolerated, well, resting, comfy, and I can complete my task. That documentation and your initials will be completed in real time right from here, all of those details falling on the tar. You're not going to have to complete it and then document. That's the point of it, to document at the time and at the point of care. For this oral suctioning, again, this is another task that requires documentation. It can be as detailed as you guys would need it. When I hit the start to start the task, I can again be guided on what type of data I need to document. Document the number of times suctioned, appropriate amount, and color. This is a medically intense task. But you know what? Maybe Rachel doesn't want me to do that. She's going to refuse this task for me today. I specifically want to pay attention to this X and this pause button here. In your organization, you will see both of these items to be able to document on. Maybe I need to put this task on hold. I have orders to hold suctioning for a certain reason, or maybe I need to document a refusal. Anytime we document besides a routine administration of a task or a med, you're going to be prompted to enter in your note. Again, it being able to be attached to that record in real time. So I'm just going to put that Rachel refused, did not want suctioned, something like this. Any details that you can put here, always great to show. And we'll confirm that refusal. Something to note, anytime you do document a refusal or a hold of a med or a task, as long as that time frame window is still open, you're still going to be able to see it in your to-do list. It's not like the completed ones where they'll fall off. And the reason being, maybe I need to reattempt. I need to reattempt that task, or I need to reattempt the med administration. Maybe she's refusing now. In 30, 40 minutes, I might attempt again, and she allows and lets me do this. We'll be able to come in here, document those details. I'm just going to put suctioned ×1, clear, liquid, small, something like that, and hit complete task. Now it's falling off the to-do list, but the great thing is that both the refusal and my administration will be attached for anyone to be able to see the course of events tied to it. Same thing with med administration. All of those refusals, if she refused 3 times and you tried 3 times, you can document all those and they'll be attached in real time to that record. I do want to walk us through a typical med pass. We're going to do one that is due now. So this one, it's 3 o'clock. I have 42 minutes before it's considered late, before 4 o'clock. Typically, again, we're showing the medicines based off time. If it's 8 o'clock in the morning and Rachel has 10 8 a.m. medicines, those will all be housed and collected for you during that 8 o'clock pass. You're not going to have to select one by one through those time frames. They'll all be housed here. I only have one medicine to give at 3 p.m., and that is quetiapine. I am going to stop sharing for just 1 second and assign this to my med box so I can show you what that looks like together. While I'm doing that, does anyone have any questions about task completion at all? You can think about it, type it in the chat, or just speak it out loud. I'm kind of casual here if you can't tell. All right. Nobody? All right, well, we're back in action. We're going to go back into our to-do list, and we're going to walk through a med pass together using our med box. Again, it is 3 o'clock. I have one medicine to administer, and that is quetiapine. This example, again, it's basically your dissected MARView. It's going to match exactly what's on the label. How Impruvon operates is we get our information directly from your pharmacy. Your administrator will approve that medicine, matching that appropriately, and documenting any additional details that we need on it. And I'll call those out to you here. The name, strength, and form typically is in the label. Your instructions, literal as they're written on the label, are here. a start and end date if applicable. If a medicine does have an end date for maybe an antibiotic or a tapered dose, that will show here for you as well. Reason for use, oftentimes you're going to read that in the instruction line, but it also can be called out here, especially if it is a little bit different than what is written in those instructions. And then an agency note. This is a really great place. I love agency notes, clinically speaking. A good way to communicate specific information about a medicine. Maybe this one particularly causes drowsiness. We want to keep an eye out for that, especially if Rachel starts reporting that. Maybe she takes Miralax Best with orange juice. That can go in there. A medicine that maybe discolors the urine. Things like that could be utilized. You'll be able to see it here and throughout the MedPass, just to call that out. When I hit start, we're going to walk through the MedAdmin steps together. The first thing that I want to pay attention to is this blue section at the top, which is your overarching profile note for your individual. Again, any items that you need to be aware of during that administration, you will be able to see. These are the MedAdmin steps. I know for PA we've got whole 15 of them, but we're condensing some of these together here. We're still going to do those checks as appropriate, and we'll be able to walk through that with the use of Impruvon. But the notices is the first section. We're going to be able to see any reminder that is set up. Again, this is the wheeled walker during ambulation. I can see that. It's just a kind of FYI. Med exceptions, anything that was missed a medication, any medicine that was refused, or any med that was put on hold, you're going to be able to see that here. Think of it as a little mini shift report. I'm not going to have to look through that whole MAR to determine if there's been any occurrences throughout the week, especially in the last 24 hours that may relate to my shift. These are things you might want to keep in mind as you're passing medicines, especially if it was related to maybe a refusal of a med you're about to pass, just to stay informed. I got a lot of missed meds on here. Any medicine that was put on hold, again, you'll be able to see. And then any PRN medicines that were administered. It looks like we have a couple. This medicine here, it has a pending effectiveness check. So I know that in her to-do list will be there, that check that I'll have to complete. And then it also looks like a medicine, ibuprofen was administered, and that was effective. So that's kind of like your little mini shift report again, just staying informed as best you can. What we'll look at now is our medication information. This is again going to show you any medicine that is due. If it's 8 o'clock in the morning again, and I have 10 meds to administer, all of those will be here for you. Let's say I need to place one of them on hold. I know that Rachel's been having some diarrhea. She doesn't need her Miralax today. I'm supposed to hold it for diarrhea or loose stool. I can always place that medicine on hold prior to starting that med pass. You'll always be able to document those, changes at the end. But if I had to, I could certainly do that from now, and it would stop my med pass for me. But for the sake of this pass, we will go ahead and do it together. I actually don't see that my medicine is assigned in my med box. I'm going to take a minute to refresh the screen, if you'll bear with me. Let's start that again. Doug, maybe, are you here, Doug? Maybe you could go into my platform and assign Rachel her medicine. I
Yeah,
think I'll just,
I'm looking at that right now.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
I am the nurse here. Doug is my technical friend, and he fixes everything that I don't do. We'll walk through the lorazepam pass first, okay? So we'll kind of go through that typical pass. Again, I have my notes here. I can see my medication information. I don't have any special medication notes on this medicine. What we have here is bowel movement tracking. If your individual really should be getting that detail of documentation, maybe they have a diagnosis of constipation or some type of bowel motility. They're taking a drug for bowel motility. We can turn on bowel movement tracking where it's going to ask you if the individual has had a BM since the last administration. All of the recent bowel movements that have been documented will show up at the top, the most recent being at the very top, and you'll be able to see any details that were documented with them. You can see we do use the Bristol stool type. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years and I do not remember the Bristol stool type by number, but we will show you that information so you don't have to guess. I will go ahead and answer no if that's appropriate, or I can answer yes. When I select yes and move on, I can enter in the details that I know. Maybe I'm not sure the Bristol type. The individual didn't tell me. They just said they went to the bathroom. You only have to document what you know. We don't want you to have to document anything false, but we can go ahead and enter this together if we know it. I'll put witnessed. We do have the type, like I mentioned, and what the descriptions are. Obviously, the first type is being more constipated. The type 7 is, diarrhea at that point in time. So we're going to give her right in the middle a target of 4. Medium size. And if you want to document the time, it's 3:25 now. Maybe your last med pass was at 8 in the morning and she had a BM around 10 that was not documented. You can certainly document 10 a.m. That way it's appropriate and I'll document it at the right time. I'm going to go ahead and do my administration. Anytime like I said, I have to document outside of that, maybe it was a refusal or maybe it was a hold, you can go ahead and put your comments right in there. That way it's attached to the medication. And we can go ahead and, for this sake, confirm that the medicine was administered. Like I said, since I am logged in here as April admin, AA will be my initials that are on the MAR. This is a controlled substance, so it's asking at the end the controlled substance count. How many pills are left in the bubble pack at this time? And I'm just going to go ahead and put 10 and hit submit. And next. Any questions with that med pass off the bat? No. Awesome. Okay. Let's go through. Doug, were you able to assign that med to my box? Okay. Thank you, Doug. Let me refresh it just to make sure we're in pecking order here. All right, I'm going to go to my do now section again. We are working with Rachel. And we'll go to the 3 o'clock quetiapine. We're going to start our med pass. As you can see, we have our med admin steps here. Drawer access is now one of those steps. Anytime a medication is stored in the drawer, we will show you where it is living. I do have this one being stored in drawer number 2. And just to quickly talk about the box together, next week I'll be in Erie with you guys, so I'll bring a box that you can kind of touch and feel in real life, go through a med pass together. But they are color coded. It's yellow, orange, red, and purple that mimic the colors that are designated in the software. The drawers will open at the right time. So since quetiapine is prescribed and loaded into drawer 2, that is where I will get access to the medication. The only requirement of the box is that it has to be plugged in the back. It can connect to the Wi-Fi, which is usually the quickest form of, internet security. It does have its own cellular backup that it always could be redirected to if the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So this is a really great way to organize and store the medications to make sure we don't do errors like wrong person errors. Maybe I don't want to, have the opportunity to give 8 a.m. meds at 8 p.m. It's a way to kind of organize the medicines outside of a lockbox. Each drawer does have a double lock on it. The only requirement that you can't store in it is refrigerated medicines. Those would obviously be kept in a temp controlled environment. When I select next, again, we can do our BM documentation. It will be asked prior to every routine and PRN med pass, so keep that in mind. When it's critical that we ask this for your individuals, the goal is to get a really robust record. That way I know when I have to administer a PRN. If I know that Rachel has those PRN medicines, I see that her last BM was a couple days ago. After I complete my routine med pass, I'm going to go look at my routines and see what's there, contacting the administrator when appropriate. We'll go ahead and select no. I have a criteria set up on this medication. We can do this for things like medicines that require a blood sugar to be collected prior to administration. Maybe I have a heart rate or a pulse blood pressure that has to be set up for a cardiovascular drug. If the result is not, appropriate, we need to hold the medication. This is the point of, guiding us that we can collect this prior to administering, and then the software is there to really help guide if we should administer the med, place it on hold, or what dose we are supposed to give. I'm going to go ahead and enter an appropriate or within normal limits pulse here and hit submit. Again, something to keep in mind, anytime you're entering in this data, it is getting saved in real time. So your BM tracking will be saved, your pulse here, any vital that you collect will be saved in real time and attached to this MedPass. The software is here to help look at the criteria with you. Any action steps were also set up on this medicine from the administrator. So you're going to be able to see the results that you entered, any notes that were placed there. This is the example to notify the nurse for results below 60. I have an action set up that if it's less than 60, I do not want it administered. So right now we can see that the software is guiding us. Will you administer this medicine? Yes is highlighted, and we can continue on with the MedPass. If I placed a result in of, let's say, 50, it's below the threshold, this would automatically be highlighted to hold, and it's going to prompt us to enter the reason, finishing the MedPass. At that point in time, to give you some reference, your administrator will be able to see that documentation on the record. Always best to call, alert them for things like outside of parameters, as you typically would. They may prompt you to maybe recheck that pulse again. Let's recheck that vital sign and ensure it's accurate. At that point in time, if the medicine still has time left on the administration, you could go forward and complete that again, re-entering the vital sign and proceeding forward if appropriate, just to kind of place that out there. I'm going to select yes to continue on with our MedPass. This is where the medicine box opens. When I select access, that is the key that opens up my medication box. Only the correct medication or box will open up where the medicine is living. I will pull this out for you just so you can see like what a typical drawer looks like. Typically, we're storing those medicine packs side by side in the drawer. Really not wanting to pull it out every time, but just to show you. Thank you, Vanna White Doug. Great example. And then we can proceed with the MedPass that way. I will now be able to administer my medications, doing my documentation as appropriate. Was it confirmed that I have to place it on hold for any other reason, or was the medicine ultimately refused? If you finish and try to go next without documenting, the system is here again. It's not here to decide for you. It is only here to guide you. It's telling you you didn't administer any medicines. The following still needs attention. You can always go back in the MedPass. I didn't hit the confirm button. So it's going to call that out. Anytime you didn't complete something on one of these steps, it's going to alert you that we did not complete the documentation. Just to let you know that. Now we can hit next. We get our confetti. We did good. Everything was documented. I'm checking my documentation here, and I can finish my MedPass. Any questions with the MedPass and the MedBox? Okay. I do want to do our follow-up, and then we can just walk through a typical PRN administration together. Here is a PRN follow-up for Tylenol. It looks like it was administered at 3 by someone named April. I have another one here, same thing. Doug administered this at 3:20. Thanks, Doug. And we can complete our follow-up checks. Also a great idea if maybe, let's say I administered this Tylenol and then I left for the shift, I forgot to tell Doug, you're always going to be able to see that here. That way we can appropriately document on the follow-up as required for any PRN medicine. Simply starting this will bring up some details for you, why the medicine was administered, what was the reason the PRN was given, and then was it effective or ineffective. We always ask that you place some subjective or objective information here relating to why we chose this versus the other. And I'm just going to place pain in foot is resolved and hit submit. Up at the top here, you do have a few options outside of your to-do list. You could have some PRN tasks. Anytime that routine task falls within the time to administer it, again, that's going to fall into your to-do list, but you might have some PRN tasks on the list, which would be a good idea to check out to make sure we know when to do these items. Check BP if reports of a headache. Maybe I have hypertension, I've got high blood pressure, and I really want to note that. That's a symptom of Rachel. If she has a headache, chances are blood pressure is high. I can come in here and take the blood pressure, documenting this at this point in time, submitting that vital, and then completing the task. You can do these for any PRN task on the profile. You don't always have to have something scheduled to check a vital sign or a condition check. You can do this at any time within the app, selecting which vital sign you're going to measure and then entering in the results. I will do oral and hit submit for that one. PRN medicines are living here. Any active medication on the list will show. We're going to get to see some information about this. I have the first example as an EpiPen. I've got a note to call 911 if utilized. The reason for use is anaphylactic reaction. These are updates related to that action, what the allergy is. This information here is going to be exactly what's on your prescription. Inject, 0.3 milligrams IM at the first signs. That's going to read exactly. And then this is that medication note. Again, we can attach that to PRNs or routine meds as needed. We do show the last administration. It looks like EpiPen wasn't administered at all. That's great. I can see the last administration of these medications. If I need to document PRN, I can simply come and hit administer. It's going to ask me the reason that I want to administer the medicine. I'm just going to go ahead and hit pain for this one. It asks me by BM documentation again. I will say no. And then I can confirm and complete my med pass. If it's stored in the med box, it's going to tell you which drawer, ultimately having to access the med box prior to getting that medication. And we'll hit finish and exit. One other thing to talk about with PRN meds is dose limits. Maybe there's a PRN medicine that we want to set some limits up. I can only administer this one time in 4 hours. Typically, that is written in the instructions. You can give this every X amount of hours as needed for this reason. Dosage limits can be set up to help guide us with that administration. They can be set up in a way where here's one, administer once every 4 hours, or I cannot administer more than this amount in 24 hours. There's multiple different items and ways we can set this up, but the goal is to prompt us when it is time or not time to administer it. If I try to administer a medicine that's outside of those limits, it will prompt me, dosage limit exceeded. Are you sure you want to continue? At this point in time, you would definitely want to kind of recheck your rights. Is it time to administer this medicine? Ultimately, discussing this with an administrator if you are going to proceed. We do ask the reason for it being administered like we do on all PRN meds, but why are we exceeding the dosage limits? So that documentation can be saved. Just wanted to call that out. You may see this on some of your PRN medications. We can do as needed controlled substance counts at any time. Maybe this is an example of a medicine delivery coming. I want to update the count from there was 2 in the med pack. I got a pack of 28 and I want to add this to the count. We can do this at any time, selecting the controlled substance, how much medication we're adding, And then what was the reason? Was there a med delivery, or was it something that is unrelated to these selected items, and selecting other? And hit submit. All of your documentation will then be updated on the controlled substance count. Let me look and see. Scanning of medications, we're going to walk through when we're kind of together in our training next week. You can utilize the camera that is on your device to scan the barcode of medication that is on your medication pack. Um, do not have this on this test example right now, but we will kind of walk through that together. Unless Doug would want to show his at any point in time, we can always maybe push that over to him if he'd want to pick it up. But it's going to prompt you to do a barcode scan as a quality check. It's not kind of to document that the medicine was administered. It's just another check prior to getting to the step of administering the medicines to ensure that we have the appropriate pack in hand. Really great with the med box. But it's a way to ensure we're documenting appropriately.
I can do that in a minute if you want.
Okay, awesome. I do want to just show you quickly, I can document a bowel movement at any time. Still going to show me my most recent documentations, and then the choice to enter in all of those details as you need and to be able to submit it there. Maybe I need to take Rachel to the hospital, unfortunately. She has to have a medical examination or evaluation. You can put your individual on a leave of absence. And what this is going to do, anytime a medication or task is scheduled, it's going to put the appropriate transfer type. Maybe it's leave of absence, maybe it is H for hospital, whatever you're typically used to documenting, you'll be able to select that. I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom of my command center to this option of transfer of responsibility. I can place the note in here on what hospital we're going to, why we're going, any details that I want to relate to this event. I can select the type. These are my examples that I have in my organization. Right now, I could select hospital. And what is the date and time that I'm going to leave? And if I know it, what date and time am I going to come back? Maybe I want to document a leave of absence. Rachel's mom is coming to pick her up. She's going to pick her up today at 5, and she's going to bring her back around 9. I could enter these dates appropriately. And again, at that point in time, Rachel's meds and tasks would have that documentation. Let's say Rachel comes back an hour before she's supposed to. Instead of saying transfer of responsibility, it's going to say return from transfer, putting her right back in. All of her meds, all of her tasks will show as due. That documentation is only happening at the time. It's not future documenting. So returning her early would never be a problem for you. I do want to talk through a couple other things quickly here. There's a long list of things that you could do. What's really relevant to L'Arche is you can look at the compliance history. This is kind of like a feed of all the documentations that occurred in a day in the past 7 days. Anytime a medicine was administered, you can see the really, finite details of those. Anytime a medicine was maybe refused, medicine that's coming up, anything that was put on hold. You would be able to see that there from your compliance section. Effectiveness history, again, is pretty much the same thing. I can see what those follow-ups for PRN medications were. Pre-dispensing medications from the med box. How this would relate is maybe I am sending Rachel with her mom tonight, and I need to give her the 8 o'clock medications. When I select pre-dispense meds, I can select a responsibility transfer. I have a couple set up for Rachel. None of these are related to where she's going now, and I'm going to simply hit new responsibility transfer. It's opening that same box that it's selecting for me to go ahead and place where Rachel's going. Once I set that up, I'm able to pick what medication I want to dispense and take with her. Am I giving the whole pack of medicines with Rachel, or am I only giving them one dose to take while they're away, are some of the details that you can document. The last thing I want to show you with med administration is what happens if we have a late med pass to administer. If the medicine is showing as late, I would follow your policies and procedures as normal related to who we're reporting this to determine, what my antivirus protection is not ready. Who do we need to talk to related to if it's safe to administer this medication or not? You can see that those medications are late. If I go to start this med pass, it's going to again ask me, do you want to proceed with the pass? At this point in time, again, follow your chain of command to do what's appropriate for Large. We will go ahead and continue. These will have detailed instructions again. Contact your on-call supervisor, contact, your nurse to determine if the medicines are appropriate to administer. You have to acknowledge these details and place a note in here, whatever that administrator said. April said it was okay to pass these medications 20 minutes past due. These will fall on the late administration report, but the point is we definitely want to show what meds were late and then guide you to complete the appropriate action, determine if those individual can get their meds or not. After we go through that process, we will walk through the steps of med admin, just like we would in a normal med pass. The last thing I'd like to show you is appointment notes. There's a little pencil down here that's going to allow any type of documentation outside of a med pass. For Large, we are going to do this for appointments. Anytime you return from a provider visit, maybe an urgent care or an ER, we want to document what occurred during that outing. Any recommendations, any follow-ups, any findings. It's a free text note. It's always a good idea to place kind of a title in the note. Maybe it was a PCP appointment for sore throat, and that was today, 10/28. This is going to document the date and time that you're recording it. So I would just be sure to enter as much details as you can, and then whatever details of the appointment. Antibiotic sent for penicillin. I'm doing some abbreviations, something like that. Follow up in X amount of days. If there was something of relevance to this appointment, there was, med changes, maybe there was something outlined as a follow-up we wanted to do, you're able to set the urgency or priority of that note. And this is just placing a flag on it. When the administrators look at this in more of a record view, they're able to see these flags to kind of categorize those notes. So you can place high anytime there's a change. Think of it, I want someone to look at this note. I'd like everyone involved in Rachel's care should see this. Maybe it's medium. It would be a good idea to look at this as soon as possible, but it's not as significant as a med change. Maybe we discussed a certain item in Rachel's care, and there was some good discussion around a significant follow-up related to future care. Low, this would be a typical routine appointment. There was really nothing that occurred outside of normal, no changes to her treatment plan. You can select that there if you needed to. And then the note type, again, you're going to have the only option is appointment note. Incident category, I really don't think that would be applicable, but just to show you what this means, if you select incident, you can select a type of category. What type of incident reporting could this be related to? Again, it's not going to do anything software-wise for this note. It's just placing appropriate tags on the note. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit that. Right at that point in time, again, all of this information is going back to the record. Okay. Any questions here? There was a question, will medications still be in med packs? Brian said yes. And again, yeah, nothing is changing to that way. It's just the software that is new. Do you want to walk through the scanning portion together just to kind of see that?
Sure, yeah, I'll share my screen, scare my screen. Halloween.
Thanks, Doug.
Um, Give me 1 second. All right, so again, this is also demo data. Just go through a very quick med pass for Dwight here, who has a medication that's coming from pharmacy. Doesn't matter if it's one medication or all of your medications, chances are it's going to be almost all of your medications, if not all of your medications. When you go to do your med pass and you click on do now, as I said, I only have one med that has a pharmacy order number on it. But when I hit start, you have your exceptions. It's showing you what meds there are and where they're located. I did attach a vital to this particular medication, so I'm supposed to check Dwight's blood glucose level before I give him any Skittles. If I were to enter a value like 224, for instance, though, and hit submit and go to next, the system is going to call out whatever your nursing team and admin team put in there. In this case, nurses said, we do not want you giving Dwight Skittles if his glucose level is above 224. You should not be giving him Skittles. Not only that, but they're recommending administering 2 units. So again, I am not medical based, so that may be completely inaccurate information, but I did just want to show you how things can be set up in the system. But let's go back and we'll just reset this number and I'm put in a number of like 95. I'll hit submit there and go to next. Now it's saying, oh, that's cool. You can still give this med. So it would default to yes there, but I went so quickly that it probably remembered the whole option. But yeah, I'm just going to say yes, and I'll hit finish there. And now, again, access, I'll click access. Only my top drawer here in this case is going to open. Pull that top drawer. Again, I will pull out one or multiple blister packs. Hit next, and it's going to bring up a camera if you're using your laptop camera or a tablet camera. We do also have the ability to support external scanners. Sometimes people want to use an external scanner, but scanning the meds is just like checking groceries out at the grocery store. You'll see, rather than just seeing Skittles here, you'll see a list of a bunch of different meds. And this little circle right here will light up with a checkbox. If I had multiple meds here, each med I scan, you would get a little check right there, and it doesn't matter what order you scan them in. It doesn't matter also, at least from a technical standpoint, if for some reason the barcode is blurred and the system can't scan it, it is going to call that out, but it is not going to prevent you or your team from being able to administer it. It's just going to make a note that one or two of the meds weren't scanned. And that may prompt your nursing team to say, hey, is there maybe something going on with the barcodes, or is there any reason you're not scanning? Whatever the case may be. And the scanning part of the platform is just that extra confirmation that you are satisfying your rights. So in this case, this is going to happen really quickly, but I'm going to hold these Skittles up to my camera and it's going to confirm it. Once it's confirmed, it's going to take you to your next screen. Don't worry about this administer thing that's a residual, but it's going to take you to your next screen once all of your meds are scanned, just asking you if you're confirming that the meds have been taken. Again, April probably already said this, but this is where you're marking your mark. So you want to be sure that you're only marking confirm if you do actually see the individual take the meds. So in this case, I'll just hit confirm and next. Congratulations. I don't get, oh, there it is. I haven't been getting confetti for a while, so I'm happy that's back. Congratulations, we did administer the Skittles. I'll just hit finish there, and it's just going to take me right back to my screen where all of my other individuals are. So that's the basics behind scanning. As long as whatever the pharmacy is sending over, that prescription number matches what's on the blister pack, the system is going to give you a green light telling you, yes, indeed, this is the exact medication and prescription fill.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug. Does anyone have any questions with that? Just to kind of go real quick off what Doug said, when your meds are coming from the pharmacy, those barcodes should be able to be scanned. Let's say it's a specialty drug that we have to get from an outside pharmacy, or maybe we picked up a med at the drugstore over the weekend when the pharmacy was closed. Those won't have barcodes within the system, but the good thing is they're not going to ask you to scan it since there's no relevant barcode attached to it. It won't prompt the scanning of that barcode. Does Brian or anyone else on the team have any questions? There's a few minutes left if we want to go over. Tasha, you came off mute. We're excited.
No, so the scanning is part of the MedPass process?
Correct. Yes, it'll be part of the MedPass process for your active meds coming from the pharmacy.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions with that?
No, it's just all new and I'm soaking it up.
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna work the hardest I can with my team to make sure we can get a barcode associated with the meds. That way you can get the kind of feel of how it flows together if you get to come in next week on Monday.
Just related to the scanning, since I only had this small obligation to demonstrate scanning, we have found that most DSPs and staff really love that feature. They actually find it fun and gratifying. So it is very quick and easy. It's literally a matter of seconds.
Well, thanks so much. If anyone comes up with any other questions, Brian, you can always send them our way or save them for me when I come bright and early on Monday morning.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much. I'll send the recording over to you, okay?
Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
everybody.
Bye, guys.